Hello and welcome back to Zing. For the set, we've done a good week. I've really been impressed with the work you did for the Barons, and more importantly, Mr. Patrick is pretty happy with it too. So we're off to a good start. Anytime you can make the boss and his sister and brother-in-law happy and do a good job in the same time, you've really done something. So I want to congratulate you, and I want to talk with you a few minutes about what we're going on. I noticed that there was a lot of conversation about the bags, and that was really enjoyable, because it really is a huge concept these days. There are several cities, including Portland, Oregon, and I believe Austin, Texas, has either passed a bill, a resolution, or is working on one to make plastic bags illegal in their communities. So in those cities, because of the environmentalists, you'll have to either bring your own bags or get paper bags, and you'll have to pay for those. So as many of you have suggested, this time is coming. The paper bags, the plastic bags cause a lot of harm in our environment. It's almost impossible to get rid of them. And so it's just easier for us to start getting used to taking care of the environment in other ways. Several of you also mentioned the new store that's coming up in Waco. It's at the corner of Valley Mills and Waco, Valley Mills and Wooded Acres, sort of catty corner from the McDonald's that used to be there. I believe there was a car dealership in that location. It was torn down, and a German company, Aldi, is moving into that location. They were supposed to open in December. They didn't quite make it, and so it's just a matter of trying to figure out when they're going to open. They're in the process of hiring now. All their shelves are up. Every day I drive by hoping they'll open pretty soon, because you go to the grocery store for milk and bread and a few other things, and the next thing you know, you've bought everything in the world. You've had to work around all the extra stuff that's at the grocery store when you just want groceries. That is pretty much what Aldi is. Just groceries. Produce, meats, canned goods, all kinds of things. And their costs are cheap. And I will put the Aldi site into our discussion board in a few minutes, so you can take a look. They have found several ways to cut prices, and your training manual talks in Chapter 2 about ways to cut prices and increase your competitive edge. What Aldi does, two things that if you go to Aldi you'll notice right away are different from any other store. You have to rent a grocery cart for a quarter. And they did this because they were so tired of people walking off with grocery carts, and even more paying workers to go out and get the grocery carts from around the parking lot. They cut it back at the source and said, okay, we'll rent you a grocery cart, and when you return it, you'll get your quarter back. So that's pretty simple, and I think I can do that. The other thing is you do have to bring your own bags. If you're like me, you probably have a trunk full of bags now. I started out buying a few bags, and then they became so popular that almost everywhere you go, if you go to a convention, if you go to a workshop, even my dentist gave me a bag not long ago. So now I have a lot of bags, a ton of bags. And so it won't be any bother for me to go in there and take my own bags. Otherwise you'll have to buy them. But that helps them a lot too. So they've done those two things right off the bat to save money and to cut costs. If you'll go on the site and see their current circular, I think you'll be pleasantly surprised at the incredible savings. I went to an Aldi in Fort Worth one time with my cousin, and I was shocked at the reduced costs in the just ordinary groceries. And so I think it'll go over. It's going to be very interesting to see how they compete against H-E-B, because H-E-B did a good job of pretty much running Winn-Dixie and Albertsons out of town. And there used to be a grocery store, some of you may remember, on South Valley Mills. It was called Sack and Save, and it had that same kind of concept. You sacked your own groceries. The prices were really cheap, but it didn't quite make it. So we don't know. We'll just have to watch. But take a look at it and see what you think. Now for today, we're going into the whole concept of competitive advantage and building a competitive advantage that will stick for you. This is a really critical part of your marketing plan and everything else. The way you go into it is to take a look at your project or the company that you're wanting to do, and it may be the company you work for, it may be a business you and your family hope to have, but we'll get further on in that. First of all, think of your mission statement. Does that describe what business you're in, and is it inspiring? Next, you want to set up some goals, some objectives, and they need to be specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time sensitive. For instance, if I said I want to lose 50 pounds, actually I'm working on about 30 pounds. If I said I wanted to lose those 30 pounds in the next week, it would be specific and time sensitive, but it would not be reasonable, not unless I cut off an arm, because I just have that's too much weight to try to lose. If I said I wanted to lose it by the end of this semester, that would be it would be specific, it would be measurable, and it really would be realistic and attainable if I just put my mind to it. A football team has 4 downs to go 10 yards. That's the same kind of thing. It's measurable. Sometimes interns say they don't want to make objectives because they're afraid that if they don't make them, they'll look like a failure. But how do you know? If you look back and you say, oh wow, my goal was to sell 5 cars in the next 3 months, and I sold 10. You can say, maybe I'm doing something well, but I want to continue that. If you said, I want to sell 5 cars in the next 3 months, and you didn't sell any, you might need to go back and assess, what are you doing wrong? Is there something you're saying or doing? Are the cars that you're selling not what the customer wants? Those are all things that you can then fine-tune and try to do over. Next, you want to do a SWOT analysis of strengths and weaknesses, opportunities and threats. Strengths and weaknesses are inside us, something we have control over. Opportunities and threats are external, over which we have no control at all. The only thing we can do is adapt. So if you're selling high-end cars and people aren't buying them, it might be because the economy, something you can't control, but you might be able to adapt to. We're going to try this out with Cirque du Soleil. I don't know if any of you have been to a Cirque du Soleil performance. I have not, but they are very famous, and I've included their website so you can go and look at some of the things they have. Even though their tickets sell as high as $300 and $400, they routinely sell out at their shows, especially in Vegas. They're very popular. I'm told by the people who go to them that there is absolutely nothing like it. And they've asked us to come. They like to review their strengths and weaknesses and opportunities and threats every few years, and they've asked us to help them with that. And they've also asked us to sort of look at their program and see if they still have a competitive advantage or if there's something they need to do. So I hope that you will have a good time. We are taking a look at Disney and what they've done to increase their market share. And I hope you have a good time, a good week, and remember to give me a call or an email if you need any help, and I will see you next week. Talk to you later. Bye.